This is Unit 3 of AP Bio. We will be talking about cellular energetics. The first thing to cover is metabolism. What is metabolism? It's basically like a series of chemical reactions that happen in any organism. That's metabolism. We have two types, which is catabolic and anabolic. Catabolic is basically the reaction which releases energy, like breaking a bond and release an energy. And remember the hydrolysis, which means hydrolysis means you remove water to break a bond and releases energy. Let's say if you have like a full protein molecule, and if you want to break it, you do this is going to be like your hydrolysis, right? And you will add water to break the bond and release energy. Whereas anabolic reaction is your energy required to drive this process, and usually it is making a big molecule. For example, you have all these amino acids put together by dehydration synthesis. Your polypeptide is formed, right? Polypeptide is formed and is basically making a bigger molecule, and where energy is required for this reaction. The next thing we need to talk about is your energy. We have two types of energy, potential and kinetic. Potential is going to be kind of in a stored energy that is based off its location. Usually in physics also, we know it's in a height and everything. We have spring, they're all potential energies. Whereas kinetic is anything that comes from movement. So in biology, we will have if you have to identify potential energy, any food, the stored energy is going to be in a chemical energy, which is in the form of potential. And light is a wave, which is I think I wrote it wrong here. The light and the heat will also be going under kinetic because there is movement of particles, and kinetic is going to be anything that's related to movement. So if it's a muscle moving, or let's say for example a bear eats a fish, the chemical energy from the fish, which is a stored potential energy, will be used for the bear's movement, which is going to be kinetic. So in this one, it is converting from chemical to potential to kinetic. What is thermodynamics? Thermodynamics law states that energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but can be transferred from one form to another. That's the one example I have told you about a bear eating a fish. The potential energy is converted into kinetic energy. And the first law of thermodynamics states the energy can only be transformed. Second law states that if the energy is transformed, the entropy is going to increase. So what is entropy? So entropy is basically going to be the disorder. So basically it will increase. The disorder is what like how the nature wants it. We call it a universe wants it. So as the energy is being transformed, and the second law states that entropy is going to be going to increase, which means the disorder is going to be increasing. Okay, so entropy is basically the measure of disorder or randomness. We can say there is no order in it. Okay, so we have all these anabolic pathway, right? An example, an anabolic pathway, we know that amino acids are put together to make a protein, but at the same time the organisms also takes in other organized form of energy from surroundings, right? With the so if anytime it will replace with an unorganized form, that will kind of increase the entropy. This is kind of a little confusing part. Just I want you to remember, overall living systems increase their entropy. They like to do that, increase their entropy much more than internal entropy. So they kind of like want to have their surrounding entropy more in a disorder. That's how your nature wants it. So as we do some examples, we can talk about it more. How do living things increase entropy? Like when they, you can think of it like they want
less organization or more randomness. That's how it can increase entropy. And then the next topic is what is free energy. Free energy is basically, think of it like a system's energy that can do work. Okay, so when we talk about free energy, we call it a delta G, which is also called Gibbs free energy. How the universe wants it is basically, if you have to have a process to be a spontaneous. What is spontaneous? Spontaneous means it does not need any energy to have the process happening. That's how the nature wants it. So spontaneous do not need energy, right? So which means if the delta G for the spontaneous process is going to be negative. Okay, so just remember, for a spontaneous process, there is no energy needed for your process to happen, and your free energy value is going to be less than zero. So exergonic reaction, where the energy is being released to the surrounding, this can occur spontaneously. So for this, delta G is going to be negative. So all you have to remember is spontaneous reaction does not need energy, and it will release energy basically. And delta G is negative. So exergonic reaction, which will release energy, is going to be an spontaneous reaction, and the delta G value is negative. On the other hand, think of, I'll give you an example. We will talk about cellular respiration later on in the unit. Where, what is cellular respiration? Because the plants make sugar, and that sugar needs to be converted to usable energy, right, for the organism. So breaking down of this bigger molecule, right, which is going to be releasing energy. So what kind of reaction is it? It will be an exergonic reaction because it's releasing energy. And it's also, if you want to take about the pathway, it is a catabolic pathway, and it's spontaneous because it's exergonic, and it will release energy, and the delta G is going to be negative. Okay. On the other hand, we talk about endergonic reaction, where there is input of energy is needed, or it's an anabolic pathway for this to perform. The example here is photosynthesis, where the plants make sugar from carbon dioxide and water. So it's basically making a bigger molecule to put together, smaller put together with the help of light energy, and it's an endergonic reaction to make a bigger molecule. And this process is not spontaneous because it needs energy, right? So energy is inputted in it. So because this is not spontaneous, the free energy value delta G is going to be positive. Okay. And then we will talk about activation energy, which we talked about in the last unit. So that's the energy needed for any chemical reaction to happen. And enzymes can help lower the activation energy, and we can work it out like faster. What is ATP coupling? ATP coupling is basically ATP is a molecule which is like a nucleotide because it has one sugar, one nitrogen base, and 3 phosphates. Okay, and the ATP is a highly unstable molecule. So when I say that, it would want to release the energy, and because it has really high energies are always unstable. They want to keep it in their lower energies, just like in any atoms, like in chemistry, like the ground state. So it will release. So it's going to break the last phosphate. All these phosphates are negative charges. Keep that in mind. And ATP releases energy, and also the one phosphate. And this is a hydrolysis. Remember, it's breaking of the bond. So it's adding water and becomes ADP and one phosphate, and energy is released. So what do you think this reaction is going to be? This reaction is going to be an exergonic reaction, and it will be having a delta G value of negative. And what is ATP coupling? ATP coupling is basically when you couple this reaction, the exergonic reaction, and the energy that is released from this ATP molecule will be an input of energy for the next endergonic reaction to happen. So like the universe the nature does not want endergonic reaction. It's not going to favor it because it's not spontaneous. So for this reason, ATP coupling plays a role where Initially, it starts as an exergonic reaction, but the input of that energy from that will be inputted to the next reaction, which is an endergonic reaction, and then the reaction happens. But note this point: the energy that is released from the exergonic should be more than the input for the endergonic reaction. So this kind of masking to the universe, faking that we are doing an exergonic, but actually the endergonic is taking place. Hope this helps.